Many investors are worried about the drop in these markets. Again, if you want to take a look at how the Dow is faring at this moment, you've got a 70-point loss. So the selling is again picking up steam. The afternoon will be critical, but well off that 1,089-point loss earlier in this day. Where is the safety in this market? Hedge fund manager Jonathan Hoenig, he's not worried about the stock market. David Scranton says we should be. Jonathan, to you first. Give me something upbeat.
Well, elephants are dancing, and this is the front page news in almost every business section and every website across the country. And that's one actually bullish indication here. And the market's been down for quite a number of weeks. And the fact this is such front page news, the fact that that fear index, that VIX, has spiked just dramatically even in the last 2 or 3 days, is my indication that at least some short-term capitulation is into this market. The trend is still downward, but this is such front page news now. And, you know, so far today, the action, although extreme on the downside in the morning, is confirming that potential.
But, Jonathan, I just want to follow up on something you said. You still think the trend is downward. So do you think we were in correction territory with the Dow at the end of Friday? Do you think that we are headed toward bear market territory, which would mean a 20% loss?
Well, I would disagree that there's fair market. I don't use that term. What's worrying me further on, Dagen, however, isn't so much the weakness in the stock market, but a lot of the credit markets, junk bonds, leveraged loans, corporate bonds. I think that's going to be actually the impetus that's ultimately going to bring stocks further down within the next weeks or months.
Yeah, and the blow up in '08 was credit driven. David, what worries you?
Well, it just worries me, as I even mentioned just a few weeks ago here with Neil, that this bull market has been overblown, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if the S&P 500 sees 1,500 before it sees 2,500. And I said that with Neil a few weeks ago, but I'm just glad to see it didn't happen all in one day. That would have been disastrous. After we finished quantitative easing QE3 at the end of October, the markets in almost every month had at least one day with a 300-point swing or greater on the Dow. But it would seem like the following day it would just rebound. So we've been in this narrow channel now for about 6 months. And I think finally what we're starting to see is the markets are no longer able to shake off bad news, be it Greece or Puerto Rico or China, and the swings are starting to get larger. And I'm not surprised to see that. And I do believe, yes, we will see us get into that correction territory in the not-too-distant future.
I'll point out that of your 3 major market gauges, the S&P 500 at the moment is the only one not down 10% from its recent high. It is close. It was down that much this morning, but it's above that level right now if you want to take a look at the 3 market gauges. 1773 is your 10% correction level for the S&P 500. There's a little bit of good news. Jonathan, I'm looking at gold. Gold is down. Not that I'm ever a fan of that metal, but where do you, are you going to buy longer term treasuries when the yield is already close to 2%? Where do you find some idea of safety here?
Well, and ironically, Dagen, I think you have to resist that urge to look for safety. I mean, that's your emotion talking. You want to think with your head, not with your heart, especially times like this. I think where people are looking for safety in their portfolio, or at least looking to reduce their risk, one place to start are those tiny positions, those less than 1% positions that you had maybe just as tester positions, just as a short-term trade. Start with those if you want to reduce risk. But don't use this opportunity to bail out on those long-term trends and those long-term bull stocks that you've held, because this too, even though it's terrible today, this too shall pass.
Yeah, and you find safety through good allocation, I guess. Jonathan, it was good to see you, as always. Jonathan Hoenig and David Scranton. Gentlemen, thank you.